The next speaker will be Mr. Naaser Bouladai, who is the representative of the General Secretary of Balochstan People's Party. We had Mr. Naaser so many times in such a debate, and his testimony is very, very important to us. Thank you, Mr. Naaser, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Manil, and I would like to thank the MEP, Martucello, and also Saeed Hamdan for organizing this event for us all. As you mentioned, I come from Balochstan, and the recent events, I think most of you have observed in Balochstan, the regime's execution of Baloch political activists, fighting against innocent trader, fuel trader, which people have been forced to because of the bad economy, killing about 30 to 40 of them, and subsequent demonstration in Balochstan, all region of Balochstan, in which about 25 more Baloch demonstrators were killed by the regime, and subsequently about hundreds of Baloch have been arrested and are imprisoned in Iran currently. But today we are concentrating on the nuclear deal and the implication for the Middle East, so I will go back to the subject. As we know, the Iranian government uses different kind of safeguard to make sure that it is regime safety and survival is guaranteed. At the same time, it can continue its suppression of the people in Iran and destabilizing the region. As we know from the beginning, when the regime came on the power, Khomeini announced the creation of the Basij in Iran. At the same time, they were trying to interfere in the Iraqi affairs, which resulted in a war between Iran and Iraq, because Iraq wanted to defend itself against the mullahs' expansion of its revolution. The proxies are being used until now, and we have seen this nuclear deal, which was started by the Pahlavi regime, but it was now gained momentum in Iran in the last 25 years. Now we see the China-Iran contract, which is coming to light, which means that Iran is trying to get money and safeguard from China, security from China, to continue its suppression of its people, at the same time to continue its interference in the region. And I think most of you have heard about that one, that the Iranian government has invested in the nuclear deal. About some people estimate, some experts estimate about $2,000 billion. You do not invest $2,000 billion in something and just give it up based on one contract, especially if you are a mullah from Iran. Investing, it is one of the major pillar of the regime, or a major kind of safeguard for the regime to survive. And many Iranian representatives says that the Khamenei has given a fatwa against the nuclear deal. And it has been repeated by even American administration during President Obama. President himself said, I think it was in a United Nations, that the fatwa is the base of the JCPOA. And John Kerry and Hillary Clinton both repeated the same from the Iran Supreme Leader. But as we know, the Iranian Supreme Leader, Khomeini, when it came to power, he said, you even can ignore the basic pillar of Islam when it's to safeguard the regime's survival. So it means you do not need to go to the Hajj, you do not go to prayers, and you can drink, which is banned in Islam, just to make sure that you can safeguard the regime. So that means that this fatwa by the Khamenei is worthless. When regime is ready, when it's known that it could use the first weapon and use it, and I'm not saying that Iranian regime is going to use it or not use it, but I don't think Iranian regime, as was mentioned here, I think before from Elliot Pfizer, that I don't think this regime will stop from using its nuclear weapon when it feels the regime is threatened and survival of the regime is threatened. So I think it will use it if it gets the nuclear weapon, and I don't think it's something that would deter them from using that one. So it's very important for the world to know that one, that this regime is going to use that one, as it has been doing that one. I mean, the regime, without the nuclear weapon safeguard, already has has at least realized some of the regime ambitions, like changing regime in Iraq. We know the Chalabi, which was very close to Iran, lured America to the Iraq, and then what we're seeing in Iraq, what's happening there. Yemen is almost controlled by the proxies of Iran. And we see in Lebanon, they have already pacified the regime there, or it is some It's already building its bases, converting people from the Sunni to Shia to create a Sunni base there. And the regime never hid its ambition to say that this one, from the beginning, Khomeini never used the word Saudi Arabia. He used to say Hijaz. And he used to say that the Hijazi government or the Saudi ruling is worse than Zionism. And they used, instead of land of the country of Israel, they used word of the Zionism in that regard. And they have never hid that one, that they want to change those countries' regime, monarchist regime, and they want to wipe out Israel from the world map. And this is a serious thing, of course, for the system in the Gulf countries and for the Israel survival. As it was mentioned here, they have to do something. And that's very important that they do it before the regime gets this nuclear weapon. And we have seen that in Iran, as it was mentioned before by my friends, Iran is not a majority Persian country. Actually, Iranian education minister in 2009 said 70% of the students that start the school in Iran are non-Persian. That means that national minorities in Iran is a majority. So I think it is very important that we all come together. When it's come to Iran and changing the regime, it's a common agenda. It should be both for the people in the region and the international communities to come together to make sure that we all survive this regime, getting nuclear weapon and going ahead with this signed contract. As it was mentioned here, today we are now in Ramadan, and at the same time it's the Day of Remembrance in Israel, and we people in that region, all of us are suffering from the hand of this regime, and mostly, of course, the people in Iran. And I think it's very important that the regional countries and the people in the region and the government to join hands with the national minorities and other people in Iran who are for a change and a democratic and secular and decentralized country where we can empower national minorities. One thing I think should be guaranteed in the future of Iran, in some way or another, national minorities are empowered, because we national minorities do not have the ambition, which is somehow, I'm sorry to say, is embedded in Persian literature, in Shia doctrine, to dominate the region, because the national minority does not want to occupy Karbala or does not want to occupy Jerusalem. So it's very important in the future we have somehow empower national minorities in Iran to create a peace and prosperity for that region. We in the region have suffered many years from the Western imperialism that they came together and today imperialism that is coming from Iran. So we should come to a situation where we can, in a peace manner and in stability, people can find their way and live in prosperity and like anybody in the world. The Middle East could be one of the best places in the world if only we have peace and responsible governments. I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and I wish all the peace, and hopefully that we in the near future, we all can meet when Corona is somehow calmed down and it's possible to travel. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Nasser, for your speech and for your ending note. We hopefully get out of this crisis, coronavirus crisis, and we will meet in person and we discuss with each other and we build bridges with each other, especially in the Middle East. And hopefully the Middle East will be the best region in the world because it's a rich region with its cultures and with its different cultural backgrounds and religious backgrounds, and we are all belonging to the Middle East, and we have a lot of origins which go back to the Middle East. So thank you so much for this ending note, and thank you for your speech, and thank you.